Now let's have a quick understanding of our flow and how our architecture will work like. So we have a version control system, GitLab. So while doing the case study, or when you are imagining that we are in a software company and we have to follow this setup, then you give GitLab setup installation to all your developers to develop their code in any language of their preference, may it be Java, Python, Jython, anything, or HTML. So we have a distributed version control system, GitLab. Each developer will have their own copy of local repository. So their local repository will be master copy of your master, that is a local copy of their master repository. So, and whatever changes they want to do, they can do in their local repository. And once they are done, what they have to do, they have to then commit their changes. And once their commit changes are done, they have to push the changes to the master repository. Imagine you have 12 developers working for your company. So 12 developers will have each will have a clone of the master repository in their local system. This is what is distributed version control. So each one will have a copy and each one will try to commit and paste, and they can edit the code, they can do whatever they want to do, and they will commit it and then push to the main repository. So once that is done, they will then your code is built. Now what we will do in another setup, we'll have for system admins, will have Jenkins. So Jenkins role is to do the build for the your code what your developers has done. So your code can be in any format, so whatever format is there, what is it, Java program, anything. So what it will do, Jenkins will build an artifact. So if it is Java code, it will build a Java, it will build, it will compile. Building means compilation. So when you feel like what is build is nothing but your compilation. So whatever type of code will be coming to the Jenkins, it will compile it. Jenkins will have each plugins for the GitLab. So Jenkins is nothing, it's your compilation and your deployment tool. So how the Jenkins will be aware that GitLab is integrated? So whilst when we will be installing and configuring Jenkins, we'll have plugins for GitLab. Now you must be thinking, what is plugins? So plugins, as the name suggests, plugins. Suppose you have a desktop, or suppose you have a laptop. So your laptop is standalone laptop, you can act whatever functionality is there. But if you want to have a mouse install, or if you want to use an external mouse to your laptop, then what you have to do, you have to plug in a mouse. So your laptop will have a port through which your mouse cable can be inserted. So that is called plugin. If you want to use a projector, or if you want an external keyboard, so you can just plug into the socket whatever available in your laptop, and you can use it. Similarly, whatever setup you want to do for Jenkins, you can just do the setups through plugins. So once when we'll be talking about Jenkins installation and all those things, we'll be talking about plugins and installation. So Jenkins will be having plugins for GitLab. So code will be giving a repository address in Jenkins, so that Jenkins will have a continuous check on whatever commits has been done, so that Jenkins will do continuous build if we enable that CI/CD pipeline. And what it will do, it will create an artifact, that is artifactory it is telling. Now once it has created the build is successful. Now Jenkins have another plugins for Ansible. All right, so Ansible in this project we are using as a deployment tool, what I've told you before. So Jenkins will have another plugins for Ansible. Now all the codes whichever mention has been built by Jenkins, what you want to do, you want to deploy a WAR file or EAR file, or any file which contains Java application which supports JSP, Java application, HTMLs. So whatever type of application you are building, you can build it through. And then what you will do, you will push the changes to Ansible. So Ansible will have only the artifact what your Jenkins has built. Now it's a role of your Ansible to deploy the changes to the environment. Now what is our environment? Our environment is nothing but the front-end changes. Suppose our environment will be having one server. We'll be installing Apache Tomcat server, which is application server. So here the application has been built. Now application has been deployed. Now here application has been transferred into Ansible. Now Ansible will deploy the application to your Tomcat. So once when we'll be installing and configuring Ansible, what we will do, Ansible needs SSH connection between your Ansible host and the environment, that is your Tomcat server. So on EC2 instances, on these two EC2 instances, will enable SSH protocol, and so that your Ansible can connect to your environment and deploy the codes which has been compiled and built by Jenkins and which has been sourced from GitLab. So in this way, your code can be successfully deployed to your environment and Tomcat server, and you can see. So this is what our setup will look like, and under this setup only we will work. Once we have talked about this setup, now let's take a moment to narrate the flow in which your setup will be working. So the first issue what we'll be fixing is like data centers issues. Now they are using traditional data centers, and which is we have to do cost cutting here. All right. So cost cutting will be done, and our admins will manage your data centers. So for that, we'll be installing your all the architecture, all the nodes on your EC2 instances. Now EC2 instances we are using on your AWS cloud environment. It depends on you, whatever you want to choose. You can choose EC2, you can choose AWS, or you can choose Google Clouds or Microsoft or Oracle Clouds. So there are a lot of vendors, but I prefer AWS as my cloud provider, and I have free account on this, so that you will be creating all those things and you won't be charged for that. So the first thing what we'll do is like we'll be creating EC2 instances. Okay. So it will be like we'll be maintaining our own data centers, and all setup will be provided by Amazon EC2. All right. So once this has been done, it means you can provision your own server, like how many GBs you want to put for memory, or how many CPU you want, how many cores of CPU you want, or which all installation, which type of operating system you want. You want Ubuntu, or you want Fedora, or any of the operating system of your choice you can choose. So it will be your own decision. Now the next thing what we will do, once this has been done, so we are choosing this platform. So this is our platform. Now we have to create our we can see in this creation only, you can mention this is like creation of your infra. So once your infrastructure, where will we create our infrastructure? Will we create our infrastructure on our Amazon EC2 instance. So once this has been provisioned, our machine has been provisioned. Now the next thing is like we'll have to install Git. So we'll configure Git here in our case study, configure Git, and we'll have repositories where we'll have a local copy of code, or a centralized repository where your all codes which has been compiled, or which has been committed and edited by different developers, they checking their code and then they push to the central repository. So we'll install Git. So once your Git has been installed, we'll see how it is installed and what all things it needs to install, and how you are uploading your codes and everything we will be seeing. Or if time permits, we'll see how we can use not only a UI platform for Git, we can also use a command line platform for Git for committing our changes. So it totally depends on us how we check it.